Thank you so much, and welcome back to Gospel Diaries, a show that is dedicated to fulfilling your exquisite taste or appetite for gospel music history. Well, just good music all in within itself. And I'm still in the great city of Durham, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm so excited. If you would, please do me a favor, take a moment to subscribe and share. This is content from my heart to yours. And thank you once again. But as you see to my right, and he's probably going to be to your left, this is a living legend right here. Would you all tell the man hello? This is Mr. Reverend James Herndon. Praise the Lord. You.
I'm just fine. I'm fine. I really am.
How lucky is one to be sitting here on the couch with Mr. James Herndon?
Oh, that's not unusual. That's not a big thing.
It is a big thing.
When all is said and done, I'm still just plain people.
Yeah, but matter of fact, see, I just like when the Lord leads the conversation because I'm reminded, I think her name is Libra. Libra. She wrote an article on you, and in one of the segments of the article, she stated that you had attended Albertina Walker's funeral.
Yeah.
And she asked you how was the response, and you had said something like, "Oh, I was surprised people still remember me."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, when you have that kind of organization, you got a group with 5 women here and one guy sitting over here off in the corner at the piano. They don't hardly see you. Most people don't really realize that you're there. And you notice all of the times whenever 99 out of every 100 times when they mention the Caravans, they never mention me.
Yeah.
It's that way with most groups. I think they don't mention the musician. They'll talk about the group and all that the group does and the ladies do and all of that, but they don't talk about the musicians.
Yeah.
We're just kind of a forgotten breed.
In a sense, but I think you're gaining the reality now that people really do know you, they love you, we appreciate you, and I'm so excited to delve into your gospel diet.
Well, I'm grateful for every acknowledgement, every act of kindness, and I've really realized in the last recent years,
wow,
just how many people really know me, and because I'm running into people all the time who will say, "I saw you on the internet. I saw you here. I remember when you did this, and I remember when you did that." As a matter of fact, the most of the people in my choirs nowadays are not people that knew me years and years ago. They're people I met recently, but they act as if they've known me all our lives. We've been friends like that.
That's because you created some timeless music. The music that you have rendered to the world is timeless. Those are classics. So, yeah.
Well, that's one of the things we hope for when you write a song. You hope that it will live a long time and have an impact on people. That's the purpose of doing it, not just to be popular. That was not the motivation. It was hopefully to reach somebody, to convict somebody, to draw somebody, to help somebody, to lift somebody.
Watch out now. You sound just like your records now, because you preach and you do sermonettes all the time through your music. Okay, watch out. Watch your tone.
That comes naturally to me. My choirs will tell you they get it all the time.
I think that it is beneficial that we start here because you made your start, your interest to the gospel or vinyl world with the Caravans. So let's talk about the first time that you actually heard or witnessed the Caravans.
The first time I witnessed the Caravans, I was still in school. I'm not sure if it was junior high or early high school. It must have been high school. Because it was 1953.
What?
Yeah.
Who was the member that time?
It was Albertina. It was Elise Yancey. It was Bessie Griffin.
What?
It was Iris Christmas, and Charlotte. I don't remember Charlotte's
Charlotte
name.
Nelson.
She was the pianist.
Nelson,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Charlotte Nelson.
Yeah.
Oh,
They were
wow.
here on a bill with the Davis sisters.
What?
I remember that well. Yeah.
And did you have to pay to get into the concert?
Of course I did.
How much was the ticket? How much was the ticket?
Oh, back in those days, tickets were not expensive. You could get a ticket for $1 or $2.
What?
You know, it's not nothing like. People don't realize how much of what we did was to a great extent sacrificial, because we didn't make a lot of money. In those days, people didn't have a lot of money. In some areas you could go, New York, Philadelphia, up in those areas, it was pretty good. But when you got into southern areas, first of all, the South is quartet territory. So unless you are billed in an affair with quartets or a quartet, depending on the popularity of that particular group, it's kind of slim pickings. It was back in those days,
Lord.
We didn't have a lot of trouble with it. We were fortunate. Most of the time, we came out pretty much on top. But it wasn't like we had a lot of money in our pockets at all times. Didn't work out that way, because out of what we did make, we had living expenses every day.
Right.
Different hotels, sometimes different city. You got to eat. You got to have clothes cleaned. You got to have all of these things
The necessities of life.
So that you are presentable.
Yeah. Raised in the church, or let me say, were your parents Christians, first and foremost?
Oh Lord, yes. I didn't know my father. My father died when I was 2 weeks old.
Oh wow.
Matter of fact, he was in the hospital when I was born. He never got home to see me. I never got to see him. I never knew my father. But my mother, yes, indeed. My mother was definitely a religious woman, very, very religious and very devout in her beliefs, because I was too young, but it didn't matter what her children did. They could go out once they thought they were grown. They could go out and hang out all night if they wanted to. But if you were in my mom's house, you were coming out of that bed on Sunday morning, you were going to church. There was no doubt about it. She didn't care how old you were if you were in her house. I never had that problem. I was the youngest one. So I was always stuck under my mother. She was all that I knew. She was mother and father to me.
Wow. That was playing or practicing the role of two parents. Did you even realize that as a child, or did you kind of come into?
No, I didn't as a child. I was a mama's boy.
Okay.
There's no doubt about that. But I didn't realize the extent of her responsibility as far as all of us were concerned. Having 5 children, and no husband, and on a farm, that's not a good life to be able to support, not for a single parent, a lady, in those days. And because I was born in Wake County, I wasn't born in Durham. We moved to Durham when I was very young. I started school, went through all the way through school here in Durham, but I was born in Wake County. You can go a mile in that direction and you'll be in Wake County. But from where I was, it was about close to, I guess, 20 miles or so from here.
Oh, not really far though.
No. Well, in those days, if you didn't have transportation, and we didn't.
Oh, right. It was a different story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We walked everywhere.
Was there any public transportation at that time?
In the country?
I was just asking. Okay,
what kind of public transportation, aside from a horse and buggy, would you have in the country?
Okay. Well, thanks for clearing that up. I'm going to work. Oh, yes. Till the setting of the sun. I'm
my day is done. I'm gonna sing till the setting of the sun. I'll cease from sorrow. When it's all over, there won't be no tomorrow. No tomorrow. I'm gonna sing until my day is done. When I fought a good fight, I'll cease from sorrow. There won't be no tomorrow, no tomorrow. I'm gonna work until my day is done. Well, Durham didn't have any of note.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of little groups that's around. I had a group.
Really?
Yeah, we started when I was 12 years old. And we stayed together until I graduated high school and moved away. And there was another group that Shirley's sister sang in, Ann sang in that group. Thelma Bailey and the Gospel Airs,
What?
think. And then there was another group, the Gospel Jubilee Singers, that her youngest sister Joyce sang in. But there weren't no singers of note in that day.
Mm-hmm.
At that time.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of good talent. Don't get me
Mm-hmm.
wrong, plenty of good talent. Cause I kid you not, Ann could always sing.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't just happen to sing, start singing when Shirley got famous.
Mhm.
Ann could always sing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that was no joke.
Wow.
Yes, indeed.
Wow. So, in what format would you say your household was introduced to the newest popular gospel songs of that particular day?
Oh, that came through me because every one that came out, I learned it.
So did you learn it through radio though?
Most of the time, yeah.
Really? Or you go visit a church and you hear them sing something?
Most of the time, we got it off the radio.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Because I remind you, in those days, we were not technologically advanced like we are now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We had telephones with a party line. You could pick up the phone and hear everybody in the neighborhood talking.
What?
Yeah, yes.
Wait, you remember this time?
Yes, I remember this.
I'm listening to you. Okay.
Yes, we didn't have. It was nothing. You could not imagine in your generation what it was like then.
Mm.
But that's the way it was. Those old telephones, it was a party line, and that's the way it was. If you wanted to use it, you had to wait till everybody else got off, and then you never knew who was listening to you because everybody could listen to everybody else on those phones.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a much different day.
What?
Most of us had a radio of sorts.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't anything that was far-reaching. It wasn't like you could turn on the radio. I don't even remember in those days having access to FM. All I remember was AM radio stations. Amazing thing to me, late at night. Well, around here too. I remember now when my little group, we used to go travel to sing. Late at night, you could get Randy's Record Shop from Nashville, Tennessee. Gallatin, Tennessee. You could get that late at night, but that was because nobody else was on. Everybody else was shut down, going on for the night.
All the way in Durham.
Yeah, and on some nights, if you were lucky, you could get
Parlay?
First Church of Deliverance in Chicago, Bishop Clarence Cobb.
You remember as a child hearing First Church of
Yes.
Deliverance all the way in California? I mean, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, go ahead.
But well, you know, the reason for that is in those days we were searching for anything religious we could find.
Mm-hmm.
We were brought up in the church. We were not into secular music. All we knew was church music,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we sought out wherever we could find it. You know, we heard the other stuff, but it just sort of went over our heads. You know, it didn't make no difference. Didn't mean anything. Had very little impact in our lives in those days. You know, there is much to be said for secular music. You know, nowadays I don't understand most of it, but you know, when we were growing up, there was a lot of music that was considered secular that was really I guess you could say was crossover type of music. I remember first time hearing "You'll Never Walk Alone." That song didn't matter where you were in church, in the street, or in the club, or anything. It was a powerful message. It was a beautiful song, you know. And that we did have songs that came along that stayed with us, you know. We remember.
Wow. All right, Gospel Diaries. I just want to do a soft introduction. I'm gonna probably do an intermission, a musical intermission, and it's probably gonna be the right Reverend sitting right here on the piano. So we'll be right back. All right.